rust, if it's that, fine. But I need to know that the water that I'm giving my son is water that he should be getting, let alone Glenbrook School.
Yeah.
It's that, to me, is unacceptable that it has to be tested. Not just for,
Well,
what's in it. I need
So
to know.
when it happens again, can they make a call?
When this issue comes up, call me,
Okay,
and I will arrange for a sample to be tested.
okay.
It's the very least we could do to allay your concerns. I had water, my lateral busted over the weekend, and the crew did a great job. I fixed it on Monday. And of course, I had the flush, but it only took me 5 minutes to flush my whole house out, and it was cleared up. So, when you have a problem, you expect that there's going to be some discoloration, and you gotta, flush your system, but, I had the worst kind of break you could have, and it only took 5 minutes to have everything cleared out in my house.
Yeah.
Tom, I got one question for you really quick. So it's more than just stagnant water getting stirred up, would you say? It's not an issue of everybody flushing all the hydrants in Pulaski and everybody running their faucets to get the water flowing, or is it stagnant water that is causing this?
It's just the sediment in the line is what's causing it, and what's causing it to stir up or to accumulate, and be stirred up in those areas is what we're trying to figure out. It's always there, in one way or form. We flush it in the spring and the fall. We eliminate a lot of it, but if you did a dissection of a water main, you'd always have that orange coating inside that pipe. It never goes away.
Okay.
It's a fact of life, and some of the communities around here have that a lot worse than we do. I mean, we have hardness in our water, and we have iron in our water, and that's what we're discussing here is the iron in the water. Like I say, the field test that I do, and different sample points in that, it said I test for the amount of residual of iron in the water, the amount of polyphosphate we add to the water, to hide that iron. Otherwise, we'd have orange water probably all the time.
Oh.
We chlorinate the water for disinfection,
Yeah.
and of course we do add fluoride to meet the state standards, and that's all DNR permitted. And I've had samples with discoloration, and I don't like the looks of it. I've got a pretty good idea, depending where I pull the samples, what may have happened. But my concern is always that I have some form of chlorine residual in that sample.
Okay.
And that, it tells me that that water is being disinfected.
So, in other words, it's going to be a problem to resolve this. I mean, it's a bigger issue than just flushing lines and...
Well, obviously, it's come to that. I'm hoping that some of the things that we are trying to do to rid of the problem will be our resolution, and this will get better. We've talked about upsizing some of our mains on our other street. Has that had anything to do with the smaller size mains to change flow, to create more turbulence in the pipe? I live a block away from them ladies, and my water is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it does happen in my home occasionally, a couple of times a year too. And I run my water like Reed did for 2 to 5 minutes, and it's fine. Does that twice a year for sure. But the day they were having issues, the sample points I was checking other than their street were fine, including the water plant. So.
Does it show up, time of day, does that matter? Does it show up morning always, evening always, afternoon?
Oh, mine was at
Mine's been
3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so it's all over the
Yeah.
place.
Normally I'll notice it at 3
I
in
was
the
thinking
afternoon.
there might be a
when I'm-
correlation to the fill time on the tower. But
Well, that, and I'm wondering how much, retention time where people are not home and or they're sleeping, and then 8 hours later crack the line open and they're flush the toilet and
Not normal.
I don't know, I question the sediment in the tower getting stirred up in some of those weather conditions. And one of the things that we did was raise the set points in the tower, so we weren't coming down as far throughout the day.
Is there ice in the tower?
No.
The question I have is, we're neighbors. If the water's getting drawn out to McDonald's or to the new hotel, why does it affect us in that area?
Obviously.
I mean, they're sucking water over there, it should be flowing,
Sure, Gerald, there's,
you know?
you got older mains in the area, you got a lot of new mains in the area, there's some older mains in the area. There is, I'll guarantee you, there's corrosion on those older mains. There's the orange slime that Tom's talking about is on all the mains. But there's corrosion on those old cast iron and ductile iron mains. To be
We
sure-
got no,
to be certain.
we only one fire main we got is by the water tower, there's none on our street, until you get to the corners. Then they're on the next blocks, right?
Well, I'm curious, if it was 2 years ago, was anything drawn up, or is Tri-County Roads, are they sucking water? I know the Grand Lions way out there, are they sucking water out there, or gas lines, or anything out there? Or
Was
not gas
Tri-County?
lines, but, I'm just trying to think, I remember when Pine Street went through, they redid all that, and the main drag, that's kind of when this all started. Was anything, do you guys have like any new customers, or drawing more water, I guess, or something like
Actually,
change of flow rate?
we lost less because we lost the canning factory.
Yeah,
Canning factory?
and that could be a problem.
They closed down.
And that can be a problem.
Is water sitting more?
Very good customer for us.
They work.
Big.
But that can be a problem. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of it.
But why does it start across from the water tower? When everybody else is drawing water, it should flush it out further, you would think.
You're absolutely right, Gerald, because it pumps back to the tower and it flows out throughout the day. That should be the cleanest line in town. And why it's accumulating there, and my suspicion is it might have been accumulating in the bypass line. So we shut that bypass line down now to see if there's any, betterment to the quality of the water. Was it creating us a problem, creating an issue? In the springtime, we will reverse the flow and flush that when we have the better weather conditions.
But that's my point, is if we're so close and we're getting the shit, how come what's happening at our end, nobody's complaining 2 miles down the road, you know?
Well, part of that is if the turbulence is happening right near the tower, in that part of town, as it's going out in different pipelines, it's getting dispersed, just getting
But I
dispersed.
lived in the house for 42 years, I've never had a problem until last week.
I don't know that answer, Gerald. I'm just saying, to answer your question about why is it McDonald's, because it's getting dispersed, it's getting, thinned out, so to speak.
Think of a river, right?
Now, all of you, I hope you've signed in and put your contact information so that I can follow up as this thing progresses. I think one of the issues we have is the communication hasn't been spot on and you never got the answer that you deserved right away. And I promise to work on that.
Thank you.
So last time it happened was December 18th-ish?
28.
28th, the last, okay,
That's when I bought the filtration system, I went bowing them in ours and put it in right away.
okay.
That was Thursday?
I got the receipt, yeah, it's from December 28th.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching, they did a flush on,
Williams.
no, it was on,
On Summit Street,
Summit.
that was that day too, that was the
yeah,
last
and
night.
it was coming out brown,
The-
I mean, I'm not very good at it, I could see that wasn't clear water.
The hydrants we actually flushed up on Pine Street, Forest Street, Green Bay Street area weren't hardly discolored at all that day for us when we were flushing.
The one on Summit was,
As we moved to the north, we were creating, I think as we flushed, we were starting to clean and scour lines by moving that water around. And that's what was happening by the time we got to Summit Street. And then it cleared up for us. But prior to that, doing those blocks in around that area, then we were back flushing to the tower. We flushed the tower down without pumps on, and then turned pumps on, pulled back toward the tower, and came out, blew it out the hydrant, right below the tower. So we knew we're both ways we're cleaning the lines, you know, if there was anything in there, we got it out. And before I left that day, we probably did that for 4.5 hours in different areas, and that water was crystal clear.
I think that's what we have to do is, if something happens, to get a hold of Reed or to make sure we get that tested right away.
I don't mind being the contact, you know, you're paying for a service that is supposed to be delivering this level of quality, and if it's lower than that, we need to find out why and take care of it.
And then ease your mind if it's not good water, they shouldn't be drinking or using it. I think that's
Right,
what they want to know.
You know,
buying bottled water, I won't drink the water, I mean.
Right, I
what
don't blame
are
you.
we gonna do until we know that we have good water?
Yeah,
Because until then, we're using other ways to get good water.
yeah.
if you would
And we're
like to
paying
call
for
me
it.
to do a daily test on your water, whether, you know, rather than wait for it, just for now, I will bring you over a liter container and give me a liter container of water, and I will run that field test on your sample point, just to draw off the kitchen faucet cold water. You let it run a minute and then pull me a sample, and I'll do my field test from your address. So you just call my water department number, that 8618 number, and we'll make arrangements to do that.
Could we get like the sterile things you're talking about, have them there when it does happen, we could do it quick while it's there instead of
Well,
waiting for you to, you know?
Yes,
Because if we're all gone and we won't be home till 5 o'clock, what if we find out at 7 in the morning, is it still gonna be?
I can
So
leave you an
can
extra
catch it, you know,
container.
just,
Yeah.
Instead of doing the bottles, I didn't know that
Right,
way.
and then put a time and a date on there.
Right, at least when it's, if it happens, you can do it quick.
Yeah, and then, like I
And
say,
that's
it's
all.
difficult to get back to everybody all the time and that, but if I don't answer, leave me a message, your phone number, name and address, and so we can try and
Right.
pinpoint if there's an issue.
And then if it does happen, we can do it instead of all of a sudden we call you, not hold until 5 o'clock, and then it's clear, then, you
Yeah,
know, we missed the spot.
Exactly. and then maybe if that way we, you know, find out if, I found this out already when somebody's had an issue, and 2 days later I found out there was a fire.
Yeah,
And I never know, because with pagers, you don't hear the siren blow anymore, I have no idea.
Did you say wind could cause stirring the cholera?
Well, those two particular weekends,
Because I looked,
the wind and the temperature, and, you know, I got a philosophy about the water in the tower is almost giving you like a pond turnover effect.
because of the November ones, I looked back, we had wind gusts over 40 miles an hour both times.
And the same thing at Christmas time there, we had the
Now,
rains and the warm
even
weather
with
and the
you
wind.
raising it now, it won't
Yeah,
pull the stuff off that's sitting on the bottom.
that's
We're gonna
one
have
of the
45,
things
50
that,
mile an hour winds
Tonight,
tomorrow.
tonight.
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. maybe.
Might get our sample right away.
And the third time it was like, it was 28 mile an
Yeah.
hour in December, but I was looking back, because I heard somebody say some one time about wind could cause it.
Huh.
But it was wind gust, it was over 40 miles an hour the first 2 times.
you know, it shouldn't, but I'm sure I'm more concerned with the change of temperature and pressure. You know, because that seems that when you look back after the fact, those are some of the things that you start to wonder about. And, you know, the guys, when I started here, I call them the old timers, Wally and Frankie and those guys, they always told me that theory about the turnover in the system. And there is some truth to that. So, but I also think that Paul made a good point about the restriction in the smaller mains, the valves maybe being, you know, throttled down and things like that. You know, that seems to be when this started to show up, is when we did the Pine Street project. And there we upped the flow on Pine Street, but we didn't up the flow on Green Bay. So does that have an adverse effect? We wouldn't think it would, because water always seems to seek its own level, its own destiny. But maybe some, you know, some minute problems were causing that. Hopefully that was the issue.
I think we've all heard in the house where you got something running, then you turn something else, you get that little bit of chatter, that's the turbulence that you're talking about, right?
That or
Just the-
water hammer.
Water, yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
it could be water. But that's gonna stir up, put it in the water instead of on the sides.
Yeah, any disturbance will loosen up that iron sediment.
But typically with a disturbance, wouldn't you say that, like you've mentioned, the 2 to 5 minute run should really be clearing that out?
It should. And depending how bad the problem is.
Because that's what's been worrisome to me. I've lived on East Green Bay Street for about 5-6 years. And when we first moved in, we called because we were concerned about the discoloration of the water. We were advised to run it, which we did. And it lasted for a few days, and then it went away. And then it happened again, and I called, and they gave me the same advice, and I just kind of like let it go.
What is your address?
332 East Green Bay Street, where I'm a block from these guys.
Okay, you're to the east of them, correct.
And I wish that there was some rhyme or reason to when it, I mean, I've been trying to figure that out too.
And you're on a new main there. Your water main is new? Mm-hmm. Well, 1990.
Brand new.
It's new to us.
Being fed by through the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming online too. It's
It's good.
splashing over somehow, some way. It's in a loop.
Well, before we close the floor, obviously it was a very good discussion. I do have a little bit of advice for you folks. Don't move to Flint, Michigan. Their problems haven't been solved yet. So, it was just on the news that they're still battling it there, so.
That's,
I do want to, a different topic here, so.
Well, the
I heard
floor is
you say about
open.
closing the floor, so.
could you just stand up, state your name and,
My name is Dan Riffer, I live on Blue Heron Drive, and I have two concerns. One is the garbage pickup in this village. I don't know, I talked to Reed yesterday. This village was a mess yesterday. And then my other question is, how can I address the Blue Heron curve, if we could put like no parking on that curve? Just past Family Dollar. Because a couple of those houses, they have a lot of cars, and when they park on either side, and the cars coming the other way, they're on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
And it's getting to be a real hazard, because especially like now, there's a lot of kids there too.
and the
So I'd
traffic
like to know
seems to
what-
go faster than they need to be going.
Yeah.
Right.
Mark, have you any complaints from anybody else about that issue
Parking?
on Blue Heron?
I haven't, but, you know, that is an issue that I can see it happening because during the summer months, it is an issue.
Mhm.
Sure.
And it's something we should talk about, maybe at another session with parking throughout the village.
We had at least a dozen complaints on Harder's service this past week. I'm just assuming they hired a new person that doesn't know how to operate the machine right properly. Karen did finally get a hold of somebody that you could talk to this afternoon. Can you fill in a little bit?
Yeah, I talked with a manager over at Harder's, and he was gonna call this one person up in reference to their snow blower, and when I called her back tonight, she didn't get an answer yet, so we'll have to call back tomorrow, but I did tell him that Reed mentioned to me that Blue Heron was one of them, that the recycling didn't get picked up, or if some of it did, it was flying where the arm reached and it was flying all over the place. And I had Nancy Lane and I had Summit Lane, and those were just the people that called in, so they just stated, and he was gonna talk to two of his drivers that come into the village of Pulaski. He was going to talk with them, because obviously there's one person on the truck, and when the arm is picking it up and throwing it into the truck, it's leaving debris all over, and it's blowing around, and they
They're
aren't
tipping
picking
it
it
too
up.
early, is what it is.
I had some issues too a few weeks ago when I talked to Joel about it, that there were some new guys on the route, and they weren't
They
picking
got
up, or
lost.
and they got lost, or whatever the deal is, but maybe Joel can,
You can sure
Get
tell
on that
when
too.
they have new people.
yeah.
They're late.
Well, the other problem is that when they do the recycling, they leave more glass on the road than they.
Yeah.
Well, that's gotten better since they've got a new truck.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that problem was because the pad on the bottom was wore through, and there's enough holes for glasses to just fall down.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I've called the village a couple times, and I've called them already back in November, and I never get a phone call back. Never. And they've missed me 3 times since November.
Well, we've gotten a hold of them, but they've never called back like they said they would.
Yeah. Do we know when that contract is up?
Then we just redo it?
Hold back some funds then.
I thought you just redid that one.
Actually,
Been a couple of years.
they've got half of Brown County now. And practically all of Shawano County. And they're headquartered in Wittenberg.
Yeah. I think they have a plant or a place in Seymour too, I think.
You got a warehouse there.
Warehouse or, yeah.
Garage or something, 'cause you
Right.
see the trucks there.
Yeah.
We finally got to talk to somebody personally today, and I'll follow up with you on that. But you can really tell when they lose some help and they get some new help.
Yeah.
Bus not training very good.
Well, let us all remember this when it comes for renewing the contract, and we usually choose the cheapest one. You know, is it all?
Do we have waste before?
We just renewed it.
Just renewed it for 2 years. Who do we have prior to Harders? I don't remember. Was it Waste Management?
Somebody that morphed into Harders.
Everybody gobbles each other up.
Yeah.
We don't change services. The one we had got gobbled up.
Right, right.
We've had
It seems what they do read is when they get a new account, they get brand new trucks.
Mhm.
They got Howard, they got brand new Max, they got junk running around here.
Well, we got a new truck in Pulaski finally, but only one new truck. When they need two, you know.
You know, and I've seen it myself where a lot of times what they do is they fill that back up and they forget to push the thing back so it clears an opening, and they keep dumping stuff right on top and it slides right back down. I mean, that happened 2 weeks ago or so, or roughly at my place, and I went out there and the guy actually got out of his truck and was picking up stuff, and I helped him pick it up, and he was obviously a new guy. So it's not even, sometimes it's not a mechanic, sometimes they just forget to push the darn thing, especially a new guy.
Is there anything else from the audience? Yes?
So what about the parking, Mark? Is there something I need to?
No, we'd have to change an ordinance to make parking work. And it's something that I'd have to work with Attorney Van de Kessel if we're gonna do it. Do we have to sign it properly? And you know, it's something we can consider. I just think that there's a couple other places in town that are also in question. So I think that that's something we probably should address it like a cow meeting.
Yeah. We'll invite you to the cow meeting if you wish.
I'm sorry?
We'll take care of that at a cow meeting, and if you would like to attend, we'll let you know when it's going to happen. Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, if there's nobody else, I'd like to make a motion to close the open floor.
I'll second that.
By Roger, second by Doug. Last chance before we close the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for the information, the input.
Thank you.
And I'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Number 5, committee reports. The Building and Land Committee met December 9th, and the sole purpose of the meeting was to get information from a county board member and the library people about what they intend to do and how they intend to do it, raising the funds to move the library to the Franciscans. And it's the work that's going to be in progress for, I'm guessing, about 2 years before it becomes a reality. The $300,000 seed money should be used within 2 years, or it could disappear on us.
Did they switch that, or did he talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The Room Tax Commission met on December 13th, and really all they were talking about is what they need to focus on. There were no firm decisions made. The Fire Department Board of Directors had a special meeting on December 14th, because even though they had been talking for 2 years about ordering a new fire truck, when it came down to time to order the fire truck, they realized that they never voted on allowing to buy the fire truck. So that's the sole purpose of that meeting. The Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee on December 19th, 2016, Chris?
Yeah, there's really good discussion about a lot of things that are happening. The one is the continued discussion on the downtown recruitment of businesses. Rosemary Gajewski was there also saying that her building is for sale again. And then there was a lot of discussion in regards to the Friars Printing Building, the redevelopment of that. Allison Watson had shared a PowerPoint presentation about a trip to Wisconsin Rapids. And they learned about how this community is redefining themselves and reusing community assets. And so based on that, a group is forming an entity to oversee and manage and how the uses of the building and funding for the building. They want as many people from the community as possible to be involved in providing input. So if anyone's interested, certainly let me know and I can pass that on. Our next meeting is on February 20th at noon at Glenbrook School.
Thank you, Chris. The labor negotiations on December 19th, met with the closed session with the Public Works crew, and then individually with the police chief, Jody and Karen. And the results of that meeting were actually passed as part of the budget.
Read,
The special board meeting.
yes.
You're on. Yes.
May I comment on the labor negotiations here? At present, you have 3 members on that committee, correct? And of course, Bob Van Lanen obviously abstained because rightfully so. I'm suggesting, and I would like to say this should probably be discussed at a call meeting, is that there be additional members added to the labor negotiation committee. So in the event that somebody does have to abstain from voting, so you don't, because otherwise, if you and Doug were in disagreement, what would break the tie?
The full board.
The full board? Oh.
Is that the correct answer?
Correct, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so should I block this out and say that we shouldn't add any members, or would you want to discuss this later?
We had to change the committee structure way back because we had we had a quorum of the.
And to do it would also require a change to the ordinance. They'd have to revise the ordinance to make that change because it's not provided for at the present time.
Okay, so would it be feasible to, in the event that there